The Bhagavad Gita contains a wealth of wisdom. Here are the three most important lessons of the Gita that will transform your life completely and help you lead a happier life. Now, all these three lessons are contained in chapter 2, one of the most important chapters of the Gita. In fact, if you understand chapter 2, you'll understand a lot of what the Gita has to offer. Now, the first lesson is given in verse 14 and 15, where Krishna explains the basic nature of the physical world. The physical world is cyclical. He says contact with the physical world brings pleasure and pain, heat and cold. But then he explains to Arjuna that they're temporary, they come and they go. And he says, have patience. Now, the reason a lot of people suffer is they want pleasure and they don't want pain. Now, what Krishna is trying to tell us here is that that's impossible. This world is cyclical. You can't have one and not the other. But pain doesn't have to cause suffering. So if you're going through a bad time in your life, you have to understand that pain is temporary. The conditions of our life will change. The cycles of life will change. The cycles of life will carry on. And you need to learn how to ride the cycles of life. And in fact, Krishna goes on to say in verse 15 that a person who has risen above pleasure and pain is fit for eternal life and will be enlightened. Now, the second lesson is given in verse 47 and 48. It's amongst the two most important lessons of the Gita. It's where he explains the basic concept of karma yoga. Krishna says that you're entitled to your work, you're not entitled to its reward. Don't let the rewards be the motive for your action and neither become attached to inaction. And he goes on to say, give up selfish desires while performing actions. Now, what he's trying to say is that act with a pure motive. And also focus on the action itself, don't focus on the reward. If you only focus on the reward, you're going to experience stress. But if you focus on the action, you'll achieve excellence and invariably that will lead to success. Now, a person who understood this concept beautifully was Steve Jobs. Steve Jobs was against management consultants. He felt that management consultants would come, they would study a company, they would examine it, and then they would give their advice, their recommendations, and they would leave. He said they were never around to implement those recommendations. And he says the joy in your work, the joy in life is implementation. He says getting things done. When you see the results your actions ultimately produce and the change it produces, that's when you experience the joy of your work. So Krishna's advice is to focus on the present moment, and what he's trying to tell us is the journey is the destination. Now, giving up selfish desires while acting is important for another reason, and it's basically got to do with the law of karma. And our actions, a lot of actions build up karma, and we spend lifetimes trying to exhaust our karma and trying to prevent our actions building up new karma. But the person who explained this best was the sage Patanjali, and he says that there's an interconnectedness between the motive for an action and its consequence. If you have a pure motive, our actions don't pick up karma. In fact, our actions drop karma. And that's exactly what Krishna is teaching us here. That if you have a pure motive, if you're not acting with a selfish reason, ultimately you're acting as a form of service. Your actions will not pick up karma, and the existing stock of karma that you have will rapidly get destroyed. And that, of course, leads to enlightenment. Now, the third and one of the most important, also important advice that Krishna gives is given in verses 62 to 68. And he says, take control of your sense organs. Don't be addicted to sensory pleasures. If you're under the control of sensory pleasures, then you will lose wisdom. And also you won't experience any peace. And if you don't experience peace, you won't experience any joy. Now, this is important for a number of reasons. Now, you can ask, am I not to enjoy any pleasures at all? No, you can enjoy pleasures, but you shouldn't be a slave to them. That's what he's trying to say. Now, if you see, that's the basic difference between animals and human beings. Human beings have the choice to be conscious, but animals are compulsive. If you see a female dog on heat, you'll find the male dogs automatically attracted to her and they try and mate her. Now, that's behavior of theirs, that's compulsive. There's nothing that they can do. It's just nature and they can't make a conscious choice. But human beings are different. We can make that conscious choice. We can decide what we wish to eat, what we do with our life, our choices regarding sex, regarding food, regarding sleep. All those decisions we can make consciously. Now, once again, Patanjali, the father of yoga, said the same thing what Krishna was saying. Now, Patanjali was famous because he organized yoga into 8 limbs. And the fifth and one of the most important limbs was what he called pratyahar. Pratyahara literally means sensory detachment. When you detach from your senses, when you don't allow the objects of sense to control you. He's saying the same thing that what Krishna was saying, that when you have control over your sense organs, then you have control over your mind. And it's only when you gain control of your mind that you experience peace, you experience joy, and ultimately you get enlightened. So these are the three most important advices from the Bhagavad Gita. One, understand the nature of the physical world, that it's cyclical. Learn to ride the cycles and learn to transcend pleasure and pain. Two, have a pure motive while performing actions. Give up selfish desires while performing actions. And three, have control over your sense organs. Thank you.